Guys, we see the signs that soon it's gonna be over for the Kerch Bridge. I guess it might happen even this month. And there are several reasons why I'm sure about it. I'm gonna tell them all in this video. Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Well, the first sign is here. This is the mark of the agency that provides the information for us, but those are the ferries which Russia put all along the Kerch Bridge. I mean, no ferries after all, but probably barges, which they put also, as you remember probably, near Antonovsky Bridge across Dnipro River in Kherson. As you can see, they did help. Why is it done like that? Well, first of all, to disturb the signal of missiles, to attract those with huge metal mass. And yes, sometimes it might be effective. It's not the first time that Russia is using this tool to protect the Kerch Bridge. They already used those barges before during the construction operation on the Kerch Bridge after previous strikes. After a while they removed those barges, but now they moved there once again. For what reason? Well, maybe Russian intelligence knows something. In Kherson Oblast, if we speak about the Antonovsky Bridge, which was completely destroyed by Russians, those barges also played the role of the temporary bridge. Here I don't think it's possible. The reason number two that Ukraine got rid of the ferry connection between Kerch city and Taman. Before there were two of the ferries, one for the cars and trucks and the other one for the trains. Both of those ferries obtained significant damages and unable to operate any longer, so Russia is out of the backup tool in case something goes wrong with the Kerch Bridge. In this case, Ukraine shouldn't wait for a very long time before Russia repairs those ferries. So the strike on the Russian ships in this region was also the try of the ATACMS missiles, because today the Russian Defense Ministry officially confirmed that Ukraine used those. And the only ATACMS missile modification which is capable to reach the Kerch Bridge is the long-range ATACMS, 300 kilometers. It means that Ukraine has already obtained those missiles. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube daily, you may join my Patreon page. It is available with my personal link in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your kind support. Also, one more reason for Ukraine to strike the Kerch Bridge connection very soon is that Russia is building a new railway connection directly to Crimea through the occupied territories. Yeah, for the Russian supplies, this route is not safe either because Ukraine might strike it from its controlled territory. But repairing the railroad doesn't take a lot of the time, just a couple of days and it's ready again. Unlike the Kerch Bridge, if it is cut right now, the Crimean Peninsula itself would be cut from Russia. Well, there are still some of the car roads in place, but they are not really capable for the Russian supplies. Russian army needs rails. It's the most fast and reliable way for transportation for the Russian army. We know that, for example, United States Army uses airplanes to deliver their troops globally, but Russia uses railroads because mainly all of their conflicts are at the Russian border, like for example Ukraine or that happened in Georgia. Maybe the only exception for Russia is Syria. But I think that at first Ukraine should obtain F-16s. As I say to you many times on the channel, Ukraine should launch many of the Storm Shadow or Scalp cruise missiles to target the connection, as well as ATACMS, plus the drone boats and UAVs. All of that should happen simultaneously to have the significant result cutting the Kerch Bridge connection. Judging on the information coming about the Kerch Bridge, I believe that the strike might happen this month or maybe the next one. We'll see in the nearby future if I was right. We have the same information from the Bild source that Ukraine is planning the strike on the Kerch Bridge. It should be a third one already. Two of the previous strikes caused just minor damages to the bridge construction, so maybe this time it will work in the other way, maybe more effective, because Ukraine has obtained better tools for it. Why is it so important to cut the Kerch Bridge connection? Because Russia based their ballistic and hypersonic missiles. And during their last strike on the Ukrainian infrastructure, those two of the launches were very successful compared to the cruise missiles or Shahed drones. Russia will not be able to deliver those very complicated and big missiles using just roads. They need rails, but without ferries, without bridge, they're unable to send those missiles to Crimea, plus they also send fuel to Crimea using the Kerch Bridge. And Russia has numerous of the bases in Crimea, the base for their marine fleet, navy, for their airplanes. Crimea is like a big air carrier in the Black Sea. And Ukraine, with the help of our allies, is up to cut supplies for it. Also, one more sign could be that our allies are sending their drones very close to the Russian territory and also to the Kerch Bridge. Those drones are still in the Turkish airspace. As far as I remember, the airspace goes like that, so this is under control by Russia, this is under control by the Turkish ATC. The drone, however, is flying over the neutral waters, providing the detailed surveillance information of the Russian bases on the shore and obviously Kerch. So the Russian military bloggers are really concerned about this stuff. Guys, today I got some of the questions about F-16s because there was the information shared in the internet that those were painted with Ukrainian colors, with the Ukrainian livery as we call it. Also, this information was shared by my colleague Jake Bro. I highly recommend you to check out his channel. He's doing a fantastic job supporting Ukraine, but here I need to clarify some details about this particular picture, even though it was shared by Defense Ministry of Ukraine, but it isn't the F-16. Let's listen to Jake first.
Story. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense tweeted out this picture this morning of a painted F-16. I don't think Ukraine's Ministry of Defense would do this unless we were pretty darn close to F-16s arriving in Ukraine.
Well, yeah, we are very, very close to that huge event, and this picture indeed was tweeted by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but there are no any comments about it. They are not saying that it is F-16 or not, because it's not. First of all, from the picture itself, you may see that the airplane is kind of worn out. The painting is not fresh at all, because it is definitely quite old Soviet-made Sukhoi 24 tactical bomber, which Ukraine uses to launch Storm Shadow and Scalp cruise missiles, as well as some of the bombs. And if we go over here, you may see the same part of the airplane. Maybe it was taken even from this picture. No images so far were leaked to internet showing the painted Ukrainian F-16s, and I think that we're gonna see them when they arrive to Ukraine. Guys, and it is not about Jake Bro, we all make mistakes, as I made many times on my videos. The problem that you have lots of the information coming, and sometimes it's hard to cross-check it, or sometimes it's impossible to cross-check it, so you deliver it with some of the notice that, okay, we need to clarify it, we need to confirm that. Here I was only able to find the difference because I know something in aviation, and the tail part of F-16 for sure looks different, without this huge Soviet-made linkage. So Jake Bro, if you watch me, do not put it on your account, because I just got some of the questions about the case. And I watched also your video today, so here's the correct information. Some say that the Ukrainian F-16s would look something like that, like on this 3D model, but I think that the Ukrainian Air Force would paint everything in blue and yellow color just to avoid the friendly fire from our troops who are carrying manpads or something like that, because sometimes those airplanes fly very close to the ground to avoid being spotted by the enemy raiders. So many parts as here are painted in yellow and blue. Alright, and Jake Bro already said that I screw up, this is not the picture of F-16, it is Sukhoi 24, my bad. It's okay, Jake Bro, we understand. And I also sometimes make mistakes, so salute to you, bro. And guys, you may check out Jake Bro channel, he's really doing a fantastic job. I'll put his channel in the video description just below. Alright, and now let's check out what is happening on the ground in Kharkiv Oblast, Ukraine. Just a reminder, Ukraine got the permission to use HIMARS and other tools to target Russian military bases. Because of that, Ukraine was quite successful in Vovchansk, liberating few of the quarters of the city. The heavy fight there is ongoing daily, and today Russia again tried to break initiative, performing the counter-strike against the Ukrainian forces. So they concentrate more of the units, more of the vehicles, tanks, and decided to strike once again. However, it didn't help. There was the convoy of the Russian tanks, which was absolutely kaboomed by Ukrainian FPV drones. I'll publish the full video on my Telegram channel. Sorry guys, I'm unable to share it on this platform. It's quite restrictive for me recently. What I can probably show you is some sort of the images like that, a little bit blurred by the smoke. So this is the Russian tank which was stopped. Also, Russia tried to assault in many other directions, for example in Novomikhailivka with their new modification of the turtle tanks, but it didn't work for them. The tanks were just kaboomed on their way, as well as many other of their vehicles, but there are some of the points of the front lines where Russians actually were successful, yes, with heavy losses, but they take the ground. The electrical power substation of Belgrade somehow kaboomed, and the vast part of the city, together with some of the settlements around, lost the power. Well, sometimes it might happen. Near Ocheretin, Russia tries to expand their bridgehead, attacking the nearby village of Novoalexandrovka, and partially they went into it. But only with infantry forces, and they had just a partial success. Actually, I have the image, the drone image of the particular fight, but I'm unable to share it with you here because there is the Russian infantry suffering under Ukrainian fire. They were delivered by the vehicles, but the vehicles were totally demolished. So, yeah, partial success. Where Russia was much more successful is near Robotyne. Unfortunately, they took more ground, much more compared to what it was before, and it's just a matter of time, I think, few days, then Russia would occupy this settlement, pushing Ukrainian army away, and they cause losses for Ukrainian army. Actually, I'm very surprised that our guys were able to protect Robotyne for such a long period of time. I think around 4 months ago I said that it's just a matter of days that Robotyne would be occupied, but no, it didn't happen like that. And Ukraine actually does a great job causing the Russian army significant, tremendous losses. For Russia, it's absolutely no-go. Yes, they have many resources, but with those losses, even those resources are not enough. For this reason, Russia is working with China and with other countries on an alternate peace plan to freeze the war for a couple of years, and after that, strike Ukraine with more forces. They need time to restore their army. Well, they're doing it right now, but they would spend years for this process with the current losses they have. And this is Novomikhailovka, so Ukraine was able to ambush the Russian attack from this village, but Russia at the same time was successful in advancing from northbound, but again with heavy losses. The scrolling Russian movement continues, but it won't be like that in 1 month. Then Ukraine obtains enough artillery shells and other weaponry from our allies. To some of the international news for a moment, because they also touch Ukraine, Joe Biden gave the interview today to Times. He said that Ukraine absolutely destroyed the Russian army by the time Russia attacked Ukraine. Yes, Russian army wasn't really ready for that full-scale war by that time, we understand it from today's perspective, but again, Russian army tries to modernize itself, as I say to you, and they constantly recruit more soldiers, they produce more weaponry, and plus they have reliable allies like North Korea, China, and Iran. So I would say that Russian army is now much weaker compared to what it was at the beginning of 2022. Yes, there was a period of time, then Ukraine was really successful fighting against Russians. It happened at the end of 2022, but this year, unfortunately, Russian army, we may say it, 100% is strong. Now it has initiative over Ukrainian army, we may see it, judging on the front lines. But again, the Russian strategy are the constant mid-waves, which shouldn't work for a very long period of time. Biden said that de facto Ukraine is part of NATO, so take it to the NATO then. But in real, without NATO membership, Russia would strike Ukraine once again. It's absolutely 100% probability. NATO is the only robust guarantee for Ukrainian security. That's it, nothing more. All of those guarantees which Zelensky signs with leaders of some of the other countries worth nothing. They're not obligating anyone to do anything to support Ukraine. I mean with direct military support. A very similar stuff with memorandum which Ukraine signed in 1994, giving up all of the nukes. What should be done, on my opinion, I said about it many times on my videos, the best case scenario for Ukraine to liberate all of its territories and immediately after it join NATO. That's it. The only other possible for Ukraine to stay without war with Russia is for the Russian regime to collapse and Russia itself to be reformed into many of the states, I think like that. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but Russia is definitely oriented to occupy Ukraine no matter what. They will not stop, and any sort of the peace agreements between Ukraine and Russia and West worth nothing for Russia. If the United States of America let Ukraine to fall, there will be other countries alongside the Russian border which could be the next victims of the Russian regime. Well, with this one I 100% agree. Also, it includes the countries in the Central Asia like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, basically the ex-Soviet republics. About Taiwan, Joe Biden said that the United States do not exclude the direct military support of Taiwan with its military forces. Mainly those remarks were interesting for me personally. According to the information which was originally spread by the Telegraph, NATO is working on the land corridors that will rush United States troops into the front lines of Europe in case of the possible war between NATO and Russia, which experts think might happen in the next 20 years. Well, definitely we live in a kind of the unstable world, and if Russia tries to take, for example, Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia under their control, obviously there would be a very high tensions between NATO and Russia. But to handle that, Russia firstly needs to freeze the war in Ukraine, at least to freeze it, or in their best case variant to occupy Ukraine and put it under their control. That's why the Russian peace plan doesn't work for the Western countries, especially for the United States of America. Biden also today said that the Russian-China peace plan is not good for Ukraine. Finally, Chancellor Scholz stated that the strikes on the Russian Federation territory is not the escalation. Well, we understand that it is the escalation, but Chancellor Scholz did a proper decision under the pressure, I think, from the United States. And maybe President of France, Macron. Hopefully one day Scholz or maybe the other chancellor will be ready to deliver Taurus missiles to Ukraine. One of the French media services reports that some of the French military specialists are located in Ukraine, and they have been located in Ukraine for a very long period of time, almost from the very beginning of the war. They help Ukrainian soldiers to cope with the Western-made and French-made weapons. My friends, now don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.